I really am almost finished my analysis of the fantastic early access game Dead Cells, but every time I get close to recording it, Bungie does something that makes me have to spend time writing about them. This is going to be just a real quick rundown of their latest self-inflicted wound, which demonstrates that no matter how many times they say they're listening, they still don't hear us. If I get a little worked up here, I'm sorry, but I really am running out of patience with this game now. As always, if you like what I have to say, or how I sound saying it, do us both a favor and rip off a like, share, subscribe. Fast on the heels of their "we're gonna fix everything if you guys just stick with us" blog post, Bungie got an early chance to demonstrate they understood players, and going forward, we're gonna keep what players want in the front of their mind. They launched the latest faction rally, an extremely underwhelming event in which you do everything you were normally doing for pretty much the same rewards you were getting, except you turn in your tokens to a new person on the other side of the tower. Now, as we all know, Destiny had a perfectly functioning and quite fun faction system where, like in every other MMO type game ever, you gained reputation with a faction, slowly opening up their vendor stock. It even had a long-term goal, as raising a faction's rep high enough earned you the only exotic class item in the game. To give you an idea how much time this took, in 1600 hours of Destiny 1, I had 2 of these. But Bungie decided they wanted to make faction reputation a rare event, so as not to interfere with their endgame of endless public event grinding. Now, Bungie's been aware for at least 8 weeks that Destiny 2 is in a precarious state. It's so precarious they had to take the entire holidays and then 2 weeks to craft a blog post that apologizes and lays out a 1-year plan to take as many systems back to Destiny 1 as possible. As I said in my last video, that's all well and good, but the fact is Bungie didn't make an expansion to Destiny 1. They spent years crafting a sequel, and if you're gonna sell me a sequel, I expect more than simply a slight graphical upgrade. I expect a deeper, expanded, and improved gameplay experience, be that as it may. Bungie's first action after that mea culpa was to release the new faction rally. Now, one would assume that all hands would be on deck to make sure this event exceeded expectations, whether that means moving some ideas up and making it bigger and more rewarding, or simply making absolutely certain that there are no stupid systems that are going to make people angry. Bungie had to know that they are running on the fumes of whatever goodwills players have left. In short, Bungie really needed this event to go off without a hitch and demonstrate they've taken criticism to heart and implemented a change in philosophy, but guess what? That didn't happen. The event caused almost immediate controversy because Bungie just doesn't understand that people are tired of the developer demanding you play the way they want you to play. Bungie's decided they don't like how fast you're getting rewards doing lost sectors. So after opening 2 chests, there's a 10-minute cooldown. Why? Because I don't know. I just don't know. Why would Bungie possibly care how quickly or slowly players farm these tokens? If a player works 6 days a week and only has a brief 4 hours on Sunday to play, why does Bungie care if he spent that time most efficiently earning tokens? Stop telling people how to play, Bungie. If you want different behavior, incentivize other behavior. The reason people used the loot cave long ago, or are grinding public events or blasting through lost sector after lost sector, isn't because they're trying to break your game or get over on you by earning the garbage loot. It's because you decided to release a game with nothing else to do, and completely unfun and unrewarding strikes. Don't want people grinding lost sectors? Increase strike rewards. Don't want people grinding public events? Give people something else to do that's more fun. Anyone who's played this game realizes there's a distinct lack of fun loot in this game. Bungie insists it wants to be an ongoing experience. They want you logging in and buying emotes and shaders. Not only is Destiny 2's loot much less interesting, there's simply less of it. So players were disappointed, let's say, when no new weapons were decrypting from engrams during the faction rally. Surely this was a bug. Nope. The first event Destiny 2 wants you to get excited about features 0 new guns. Nothing. There will be 1 gun for the winner's offering. Here's the quote from Bungie. With the release of Curse of Osiris, each faction has received 5 new weapons. These weapons become available over the course of the season and cannot be earned through faction engrams immediately. In the first faction rally of Season 2, this week, there's a new auto rifle available as a winner's offering. No new faction weapons are available through faction engrams. In the second faction rally of the season, the winner's offering is updated to a new weapon. Additionally, the previous winner's offering, auto rifles, and an additional weapon are added to faction engram rewards. The final faction rally of the season will follow this functionality. The winner's offering will be updated to a final weapon that's yet to be featured. The previous winner's offering will be added to the faction engram rewards alongside an additional weapon. This brings the total to 4 weapons within the faction engram and a final winner's offering for factions to compete for over the course of the event. So Bungie's first big event of the season, its first opportunity to show players it understood what the problems with the game were and planned on addressing them, is a faction rally that has no new weapons added to the loot pool, and 5 new weapons added in the entire season. Now each faction does have new armor, except as we've gone over, armor is completely fucking pointless in Destiny 2. They have as much gameplay impact as shaders. Bungie may as well have had only shaders dropped from the vendors. So once again, Bungie's decision to sell armor in the Ever Restore has had a negative impact on the game itself. If this was D1, players might have been more okay with this, because while D1 armor was still underwhelming and didn't drastically alter gameplay, it at least had a material effect on it. Destiny 2 armor does nothing. One stat is basically useless, and of the other two, one is clearly superior to the other. But let's go even a bit beyond that now. Destiny 2 weapons are far less interesting than Destiny 1. Firefly is now, somehow, an exotic perk. Why? I don't know. Several of the most interesting gun perks are completely gone, and the move to the fixed roll system basically destroyed the need for vendors. In D1, you get the same weapon over and over, but you'd almost never get 2 with the exact same roll. And in getting 1 with a perfect roll was rare enough that players, during downtimes, would compare their guns and boast about which of them had a god roll. This meant that the vendors had an important function. Because getting a perfectly rolled weapon was rare, Bungie could use Iron Banner, Trials, and vendors to occasionally release a weapon with excellent stats and rolls. One of the greatest examples of this was the Dead Orbit Hung Jury, which was so perfect, I never found a scout rifle that replaced it until the very end of Year 3. But every gun that drops in D2 is the same, so who cares what the vendor has? There are very few archetypes, its own massively huge problem, and once rolls were made static, that's it. Every gun that drops is basically the same as every other gun, so who cares what the vendor has? It's going to be just about the same as everything else in my inventory. In D1, I had a wide variety of weapons to choose from. Exotics and legendaries alike, I would switch back and forth depending on the activity, my class, and how I felt like playing. I almost never switch my loadout in D2 because it doesn't feel any different to switch guns out. It always feels the same. To really make players feel like progress is being made, Bungie needed to release a few weapons that players had to have. Imagine if Bungie had released a Fatebringer in this event. What would people be talking about right now? What would the articles, blog posts, and videos be about? What if Bungie had released 3 new archetypes? A new archetype hand cannon, scout rifle, and auto rifle, and put 1 in each vendor. What would the news be today? But that's not what Bungie did. What happened is Bungie released their first event of the season and gave players nothing to play for. No reason to play at all. Why would I even log in for this? To grind a bunch of the same public events for armor that does nothing to alter the game from the armor my characters are wearing now? This, as clearly as anything else, proves that Bungie still doesn't get it. The game isn't fun, Bungie. There's no reason to keep playing the game because in the name of balance, seeking a more casual audience and selling cosmetic items, you've ripped everything interesting out of the game. That's the most important takeaway from this, but there's something else as well. Bungie likes to say that they're listening, but they are clearly not. There was already a weekly engram lockout, which itself is unforgivable. Is Bungie really saying that after you earn 30 engrams, we'd prefer you not play the game? Because functionally, that's exactly what you're doing. Why does Bungie care if someone earns 90 faction rally engrams a week? What does it matter? None of these items make players any more powerful than any other player. They've already made it so that gear is no better than any other gear. Beyond that, why is Bungie telling people which activities they must play? If a player would prefer to spend his time grinding lost sectors, who is Bungie to say, no, you can only do a couple of lost sectors, then you have to switch to something else? I personally don't play like that because the lost sectors are terrible and boring and a total fail by Bungie, but if I did, what do you care? And again, even if you did want to make players do different activities, you are going about it all wrong. Stop telling people what they must do and start giving players a reason to do something else. We are 4.5 months into the life of Destiny 2 and there is still no reason to ever play strikes. The fact that public events and lost sector farming is far more efficient than strikes was evident from day one. How is this still the case? Players aren't grinding public events and lost sectors because they're trying to get over on you, Bungie. They're doing that because the game you designed incentivizes that. That's what you did, Bungie, not the players. You're the one who made people do that. At any time in the previous 4 months, you could have altered rewards to make strikes the most rewarding activity. But whether because of laziness or incompetence or because you realize there just aren't enough strikes and they're all pretty terrible, you've done nothing. Stop treating your players as adversaries looking for loopholes. Start realizing that player behavior isn't some mystical, impossible to understand phenomenon. Players behave amazingly logically. They will almost always gravitate to the most efficient way to earn the rewards you're giving, no matter how pointless and shitty those rewards may be in Destiny 2. Bungie, you created the game, but by forcing players to play it only how you think is most fun, you are perfectly and repeatedly proving me right. By treating players like they're trying to get over on you, you're proving me right. By failing to realize that player behavior is responding only to your design, you are proving me right. By having your first big event have nothing interesting to play for, and then forcing players to waste time chasing those underwhelming rewards, you are proving me right. You're not listening, you haven't heard us, and nothing is changing. Alright, I'll see you next time.